Heather MacKenzie, thanks for having a chat with us.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
You've been in Australia 5 weeks now?
I've been in Australia 5 weeks this trip.
On the road?
Yeah, on
Nice.
the road.
Where have you been?
Oh, I've been some places. I spent a fair amount of time in Queensland, but I actually went up to the Outback.
Oh, wow.
And spent 4 nights in the Outback in Western Queensland.
Beautiful.
I got all the way out to Marabara.
Marabara?
Have you even ever heard of it?
I've never heard of
it. No. It's population 88.
Wow.
And I think they all turned out for my talk. So I was up there talking about mental health and resilience. As you probably know, in Queensland, they're in year 7 of a massive drought.
Yeah.
And so I was brought up there to tackle that topic.
Okay.
But I've never been so far out in Australia. It was awesome.
I guess you get to see sort of the full gamut of Australia and Australians. It's really nice to be able to come out and see some of those parts of the world, right?
It's been amazing. This is actually my 3rd trip out in less than 7 months.
Okay, cool.
So I've spent time, I've been to Townsville, Mackay, Rocky, Gladstone, Toowoomba, Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast, Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide, all over McLaren Vale. I mean, that wasn't important. I mean, gotta go get some wine.
Where'd you go in the Vale?
That's a great question. We went to like 4 places, and Heather just got on and off the bus as she was told.
Drink some nice wine?
I don't ask any questions when people are offering wine. I just generally say yes.
Part of the thing that SouthStart is really trying to champion, I suppose, is having more of these conversations about all different topics, but creating transparency and communication here in SA, because I think historically there's been a bit of kind of a wall up around startups and around business in general. So trying to really bring that to the forefront and work out what we need to do to take it to that next level.
Agreed.
How does it look from an outsider coming in? I mean, did you know much about Adelaide? Obviously, you've been to Australia a bit in the last few years, but... Yeah,
so I'd been to Adelaide once in May, and so I was brought out back by Joe Thorpe when he was CEO of Tech and SA, and so I gave a talk primarily on my Me Too case. So I had a pretty massive sexual assault in the workplace case back in 2014. So I did a keynote there, and then I was on a panel with Nikki Vincent and Donnie Walford that Rebecca Morse moderated for us. So that was what first brought me to Adelaide several months ago, and I've just immediately felt an affinity for the city. And then in the other part of my career, where I'm head of due diligence for a seed capital fund out of the U.S., I just saw tremendous opportunities here in Adelaide to come in and partner and collaborate with the ecosystem here. So really excited to be back.
What are some of those opportunities, do you think?
So I look at Adelaide and I see, or South Australia in general, and I see that you're about 10 years back from where we were in Colorado. So in Colorado, 10 to 12 years ago, we were heavily reliant upon mining, oil and gas, tourism, pretty traditional industries. And when the bottom fell out of the economy, we had to reinvent and bring innovation in to build a more robust economy. And so we've got a really strong venture and angel community, a startup ecosystem. We are now ranked... I better not get this wrong. I believe right now our current ranking is we are the number 2 startup ecosystem in the entire United States.
Wow.
And so there's actually a group out of Brisbane. It's run by River City Labs. Steve Baxter started it. And so Aaron Birkby takes mission trips. He brings entrepreneurs and community leaders to the United States, among other countries. And when they come to the U.S., the 2 systems they study are Silicon Valley and Denver Boulder. So we're quite proud of that. And I really see a lot of industry alignment. I see a lot of diversification in the industries that are happening here in Adelaide now, where you're getting into space and deep tech, artificial intelligence, health tech, agri-tech. So that diversification of economy matches up to what we've done in Colorado. And so I'm really excited that we're going to be bringing some programs here and some funding here for early entrepreneurs.
That's really cool to hear. So one of the common threads that we've been talking about in these chats and at dinner last night is about needing to sort of plant the seed early, and it does take time to sort of grow the roots of a startup or of an industry or a community to foster that.
Absolutely, yeah. We're here to work with the startups that are already producing revenue and are ready within about 6-month time frame to go international. And so we're here specifically, the programs we run are specifically to prepare them for entry into American markets. And kind of along the veins of the talk I just gave on founder mental health, we at Three Lines Capital and at the core, which is my consulting firm, we really believe in the whole entrepreneur's experience. And so it's not just about the money. In fact, in my opinion, the money is kind of the least important part.
Sure.
The social capital is really important. The networks are really important. And so we open up our global networks. We help them find their ideal first customer. We help them figure out which region in the US they want to launch into. We provide them with opportunities for mentors and advisors. And then my special passion and the work that I do inside the firm is around founder mental health and just making sure that we're building resilience, especially if you're about to go global.
Yep.
That's a whole new level of entrepreneurship. And so we want to take care of the entire entrepreneur's well-being, not just the finances.
We were just talking to Lewis from Unity, and he was actually touching on those topics and how that, a founder or a CEO's state of mind filters through the whole organization as well.
It absolutely does, yeah. So leadership, of course, and culture begins at the top.
Yep.
And one of the points I made on stage was to try to foster an environment where there's transparency around mental health and mental health issues, and to not only give permission to, but actually encourage your employees to take time out during the day, go take a 30-minute walk, go do a meditation session in a quiet room, go do whatever you need to do to take care of your health. But that actually, there are plenty of studies that show that actually improves the productivity and thus the revenue of companies if you have a more holistic approach.
And do you find in the States, because I know here, it's obviously sort of becoming demystified and more open, but there still is stigma around it.
Massive, right? Nobody wants to talk about it and everybody's experiencing it.
Yep.
So I get a group of founders in a room and everybody's, everything's great and I'm raising money and the company's going well and I have all this customer traction. And then I do a lot of one-on-one coaching with founders. And when they're one-on-one with me, that's when the tears come and I'm not sure how I'm going to make payroll in 4 weeks, or my burn rate's really high, or whatever it is. And it actually happened at last night's dinner.
Okay.
That's how we ended up making this pivot. So I was here to talk about building bridges between our regional economies in Colorado and in South Australia.
So you really did pivot quite quickly there.
Oh, no, it was literally a 2 a.m. pivot, and I took a 45-minute keynote and cut it to 20 minutes and sent Danielle all the slides at 2:30 in the morning. But it was as a result of sitting with people last night and having those radically authentic and transparent conversations, and a few founders that were having conversations with me actually got even a little teary-eyed and went, oh my God, you are describing my journey. There is somebody who understands what I'm going through. And it's about creating, in my opinion, psychologically safe spaces where people can let those walls down and we're all going through the human experience, right? We're all working out our stuff in this lifetime. And so I think the more transparent we can be about it, the more human unity and connection it actually fosters.
And I think that just flows straight across into business as well. It's the same principle of being transparent and talking about the experience. It's good for the community in general and good for business. So internally, but also, with competition potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe in radical transparency in life in general. Again, I'm all about fostering human connection, and I think that the ways that we can do that are finding the ways that we are indeed more alike than we are different. We're all going through the same experience. I like to say we're all one race. We're the human race.
Sure.
And so the more common connection points that we can find with one another, the better it is, or the easier it is to foster empathy and compassion for people that you're either doing business with or in relationship with of some sort.
Some of the other things we've been talking about, trying to foster. You're talking about the agility to just change your keynote at the last minute.
Yeah.
But so formal education. So coming out of university, there seems to be a lack of that kind of agile thinking, and not just from a agility as sort of a framework for business, but just mentally being able to deal with failure and go through the ups and downs that you're going to face when you actually get out into the real world.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm a firm believer that adversity builds resilience. So we need a certain amount of sort of pressure testing because it does help build our resilience. But at the same time, I think you can tip too far and have that adversity sort of ruling your life.
Yeah.
So for me, it was really important to go back and integrate past traumas that I had experienced. I was already a pretty high-functioning, high-capacity individual at a big company. I'm a single mom with 6 kids. I was managing a lot, but I actually didn't realize the impact that some past traumas and some childhood experiences had on my thinking and my brain patterning and all those kinds of things. And so, yes, adversity is important and we all experience it, and it can build resilience in some positive things. But man, when you can actually integrate your experiences and understand how they're affecting the way that you think, behave, and make decisions, it's a game changer. You remove all that ballast and you soar even higher.
And I think that's just about, knowing yourself and having the freedom to actually, look inside and talk about that too, which is just sort of letting some barriers down, isn't it?
It is, and it's a scary journey.
It is scary.
It's really scary. I often say the tipping point for making these kind of changes is when the pain of being stuck where you are begins to outweigh the fear that you have of taking the journey. And that's the real tipping point. And people generally won't make that shift until the pain becomes so unbearable that they're like, I have to do something.
Something has to happen.
But you don't have to get to that point.
No.
You can choose to address it earlier.
How do you think we teach people that at a younger age? How do you start sort of broadcasting that message out and letting people know that?
Yeah, so I do think it goes all the way back to early childhood. There's some really seminal work that's been done. It's called the Representation Project.
Okay.
Jennifer Siebel Newsom is her name. She had a breakthrough film at the 2011 Sundance Film Festival called Miss Representation, MISS, and then Representation. Okay. And it talked about societally, at least in America, how from a very young age we teach girls to behave in certain ways. And we teach them that their worth is based on their looks and other things. And then she followed it up with what I thought was an even more impactful documentary. I believe it was 2014. And it's called The Mask You Live In, which is a wordplay on masculine. Yep. And it talked about how in American society, from a very young age, we teach boys that really the only two acceptable emotions are anger and aggression.
Sure.
We are all born with the full range of human emotion and experience, but from that very young age, that conditioning is set in, and even just the phrases that are used, right? Don't cry like a girl. Yep. Don't be a pussy. Don't be all these awful messages that we give boys, and so they repress everything, but they're still there.
Yep.
And so that's where we start to see what I call and what she calls toxic masculinity.
Yep.
And when that enters into the workplace and into the business world, and you have those kind of people leading who aren't allowed to express the full range of human emotion, they begin to objectify others around them. The women are sort of holding the roles that they've been taught. And so I do think it starts like at a really young age with letting children know that it's not only acceptable to experience all those emotions, but that you can be in control of your emotions. We all have feelings. It's just how you choose to act and react in situations.
And actually feeling them, right? Because I think men get taught pretty young, don't.
You can't.
Yeah, that's right.
And what a terrible shame.
It is.
Right? Yeah. I think a good cry is a good thing for all of us. It's very cathartic.
100%. And I think all of that back in sort of the business lens is just so important because, I mean, you do end up with toxic culture that breeds, bad products, whatever it might be. But
well, we're certainly seeing a lot of that come out, right, with the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
Time's Up, all the things. I've seen some of the scandals in Australian society that have been coming to light lately as well.
Yeah.
So it's all coming forward. It's just been there underneath the entire time.
I do think there's positive change in sort of the younger generations coming through, and I think it is starting to change.
No, the millennials are going to save my generation from all the stuff we've screwed up, frankly.
I hope so.
Millennials and Gen Zs. I have great hope for the planet and for the people on it because of them.
Yep. They need to just... and I think we need to, looking back, and the Gen Zs, is give them the opportunities and give them that sort of... the freedom to sort of do whatever they want, which is why these things are great, right? So we can actually start the conversations and let people know there's infinite opportunities out there. Yeah,
I mean, obviously the internet's changed a ton of things, right? I grew up in the era before it, and so I think that has allowed kids to have to form their own opinions and original thoughts because they can go research almost anything they want to, right? Like, I'm really dating myself, but we had like the Encyclopedia Britannica. So it's like,
that's what I grew up with as well.
Yeah, we'll get out volume L and look up this. And so being able to have the vast resources available, I think produces more diversity of thought among them. But I know I make a real effort to make sure that they understand their contributions are valuable now. It's not all about age and experience.
Yep.
One of my closest mentors is 32 years old.
Sure.
I'm 52, she's 32. I learn a lot from her.
That's nice. What excites you about the future? You got 6 kids, so bringing them into the, into the world. What do you see their future like when they're 52?
Well, hopefully taking care of me. No, I'm kidding. No, Kidding. No, it's really cool to me. So my sixth one is actually turning 18 on Friday.
Cool.
So I am leaving this conference and getting on a plane and going back to America to make sure I'm there for her her 18th birthday.
Exciting.
But what has been really cool, so I have 5 kids in their 20s, and they are all living in their purpose. They're living authentically. They're living as compassionate human beings, which is the most important thing to me. But they've had the freedom, I guess, to choose really unique paths. I have a professional tuba player. I have a professional race car driver. I have a Michelin chef.
Wow.
I have a stand-up comic. I have a choreographer. Like, it's really cool
diverse.
to me.
That's cool.
Yeah, so they're all entrepreneurs, right?
They're very expressive too.
Yeah, very creatively expressive. And I told them, you guys are going to be the only ones that AI can't replace.
Sure.
AI and machine learning will never replace human creativity and art. So.
And I think that was sort of where the question was kind of going in around, for young kids now, someone being born in 2018, what does 2040 look like in terms of the workforce? And I think those expressive, creative career paths are never going to be taken over by AI or automation in any way.
No, they're so individualistic, and I just have the greatest respect for any type of creative. They're the ones who provide the beauty and the nuance and the texture and the joy that we all, think about the joy we all experience in art or in music. Yeah. To me, music is the most universal language. You travel anywhere in the world and music is part of the culture. Whatever kind it is, it's a universal language that we all speak and that all touches all of us.
Music, food, laughter.
Right.
Going across the spectrum.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what provides the joy and the richness in the human experience. Not that we don't need people that work in corporate offices, and I worked in one for many, many years. Yeah. But I think you're right. In the future, the creatives are going to maintain that human connection. And at our core, we are wired for human connection. That is one of our most primal needs, is to be connected to other human beings. And so in this age of technology advancing, which is great, and if we use tech for good, that's awesome. But I just think we have to maintain the human connection we have with one another, despite whatever artificial intelligence or other kind of technology comes into play.
And I think some of the exciting things is if automation, AI does start taking over a lot of jobs, it actually opens up space for people to actually do more fulfilling careers.
Exactly.
and actually use their creativity. And I think creativity hides in many places. David here is a developer, but a very creative developer, right?
All developers are creatives.
And you have to, it's just about connecting dots, isn't it? Connecting sort of disparate dots. And I think if we've got more time to actually, sit back and think and
I agree. That busyness, busyness thing. Yeah. It's both good and bad, but I have the little Alexa device, right?
Yeah,
and so now, so I can just stand in my kitchen and say, hey, Alexa, order this from the grocery store. And then it shows up the next day on Amazon Prime. It's the craziest thing.
It's nice.
Also dangerous.
It is dangerous, yeah.
Hey, Alexa, I need a new pair of shoes. Yeah.
What restaurant, Michelin restaurant, is your son or daughter?
It's a son. Yeah. He is at Acadia.
Wow, in Chicago.
Yeah.
Wow,
you know your food.
That's incredible.
Yeah, no, he spent some time at North Pond, and then he was also at Alinea, which is a 3-star.
Yeah.
And then he's cooked in Paris, Rome, Barcelona, Lisbon, and he's only 26 years old.
Cool.
So, yeah.
I'm a big foodie.
So every time he comes home, I'm like, so do you want to cook for Mom? I just happened to assemble some ingredients here for you. Yeah, it's pretty special.
I've never got to Denver before, but I'd love to. My wife's American, so we're going to the East Coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic place to live. We have a really robust and growing economy. Honestly, part of it is because of marijuana.
Oh, that's great. $400 million in tax in the first quarter or first year?
Yeah. We're in revenue this year. We passed the $1 billion mark in August. So the earliest in a calendar year that we've passed $1 billion in revenue.
Wow.
Seeing some really exciting benefits, not only for the economy, which are important, but now there are studies out showing that marijuana use is having a positive effect on the opioid crisis in America, and on PTSD and returning military veterans. And there's just a lot of good that can come of it. So that's certainly part of our economy, but we're a really strong startup ecosystem as well.
I think they found the same thing in Portugal when they decriminalized. That they had a heroin epidemic over there, and that really got reduced too. So, It's definitely the way forward. Canada's now jumped on board.
Yes, yeah. And Australia's now able to federally export medical marijuana, which is a game changer for your economy. Yep.
I think we're a few years behind decriminalisation or total decriminalisation nationwide, but
hopefully it's coming, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things. How do you feel in Denver? How much has government played a role in the ecosystem? Because I think historically in SA, people have looked to the government to sort of be that big brother or whatever to help buoy things up. Whereas I personally don't necessarily. Obviously it helps, but I think we need to do it ourselves, right, from the grassroots level. Yeah,
that's definitely one of the differences I see between the ecosystems. Government does not play as strong a role in the United States in entrepreneurship, and I do think that helps create kind of a hunger that I don't necessarily always see here. That certainly I don't want to generalize, but
sure.
The government's played some important roles recently. I've been involved in a project. My firm has been involved in a project around smart cities.
Okay. Yeah,
so
sure.
we have built the largest smart cities alliance in the United States. We think it may be also in the world.
Okay.
We now have 90% of Colorado's 5.4 million citizens covered under this alliance.
Okay.
And we've been able to bring private sector, public sector, policymakers, academia, and most importantly, the voice of the citizens together to create this alliance. And we just have announced a brand new living lab in Colorado where companies will be able to come in and test in real time, kind of beta test their different technologies. And that was one that the government did support. So Aero Electronics, a big multinational company, they supported it. And then the Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade put in a $500,000 grant into that. So we do see some, but far less.
Not reliant on it.
But here's the thing. Our angel community and our investment community is far more mature than any I've seen across Australia yet. And so that's actually part of our mission when we come in to begin providing funding and to provide the holistic help for entrepreneurs. That's only one side of the equation. You've got to have a strong investor community as well to support entrepreneurship. So we're really keen to start working with your angel communities here and with your venture capitalists here to create collaborations and help mature the system to the point where it can support South Australia's startup ecosystem without an international injection of cash.
I think we've worked with a number of startups in the app world over the years. And going back 5 years, there wasn't avenues to really have those conversations with investors. I mean, and that's improving now, I think. But historically, it just wasn't really there.
No, and I hate to generalize, but from what I've seen, in I've probably been to 30 cities or regions around Australia so far. It seems to be a pretty conservative investment community.
Very much
when
so.
when you're at that angel sort of early stage, early venture. If they can't see it and touch it, it's a little scary. If they want to, either immediate return or 2 to 3 year. I just spoke at a dinner earlier this week with Steve Baxter, and he and I both talked about how it's really like more of a 10-year play. And diversifying your portfolio. It's not, you can't bet all on red, right?
No, that's right.
There are a few unicorn companies, but that's not an investment strategy.
They're unicorn for a reason, right?
Right, that's not an investment strategy. So the importance of diversifying your portfolio across whatever verticals are important to you. We at Three Lines Capital build our portfolio around smart cities. So our bigger play is in creating smart cities alliances. So we look to fund companies that support a smart city. So biotech, medtech, health tech, because we have to take care of the health of the citizens. Agri-tech, because we need to feed people. And with climate change coming, we've got to find new and innovative ways to produce our agriculture in different ways. And then we support artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, robotics, cybersecurity, and then sort of any big data plays that can help a city run more efficiently.
And that's some of the exciting stuff that's happening in SA now around.
Massively. Yeah, we just saw this massive alignment. And so we're very excited that we're going to start collaborating here really soon.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having a chat with us.
Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you enjoyed SA and got to sample some of our wine.
It's just a beautiful city. That Mod Museum, oh my gosh, amazing. I could just get lost I did get lost in there. Not physically, but yeah, you guys have an amazing, amazing city and really creative and welcoming and warm people. And I'm looking forward to being back in Adelaide in the next couple months again.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for the chat.
All right. Thanks, Sam.
Cheers.